Hello, and welcome to Zero to Something, space where we honestly talk about the real journeys of startup founders, both their ups and downs, and everything in between. Last episode, we talked about shiny object syndrome. This means you constantly shift your focus from one feature to another, never sticking to one for a long time. And I will link it down below in case you missed it. But today, we're talking about the exact opposite of it. Ever wondered what happened to your old BlackBerry or that trusty Nokia phone brick? Turns out they didn't get the memo about touchscreens and app stores and smartphone idea, really. In this episode, we're talking about how even giants can stumble when they hold on too tight to the past and what that means for you as a founder. From features to entire startup ideas and clients, personas, sometimes the bravest move is letting go. Let's talk simple definitions as usual. The sunk cost fallacy is when we continue investing time, money, and effort into something, not because it's still valuable, but because we've already invested so much. As an example, a founder keeps on developing this feature that research shows nobody really wants or cares about because they already spent $5,000 and 2 months into developing it. Originally, the term comes from economics, but it's very deeply connected to cognitive psychology and decision-making biases. The concept was researched and named and popularized by three fathers of behavioral economics, Thaler, Tversky, and Kahneman. And you have probably heard at least one of those last names and probably have read some of his books as well. At the heart of sunk cost fallacy lies loss aversion. Letting go of something feels like admitting failure and loss, even in the situations when quitting would be actually the smarter move. Founders are especially vulnerable to this way of thinking because startups are built on high emotional and financial and time investment. Founders identify personally with the product, making it very hard to stay objective sometimes. And also this notion that I can turn this around if I just work hard and put in more hours and pour in more money, that leads to sunk cost traps. Let's talk a bit about my personal experience and also the famous Nokia experience. Our startup's pivot to progress actually happened not that long ago. Originally, we built our voice AI training platform for sales teams, and it was a great idea. But the market wasn't necessarily the right fit. Two main reasons. Number one, there were already some big competitors in this field. They already had massive investments and also have developed their features quite far along. Number two, this tool is best suited for newcomers in the company. And in sales departments, the churn rate is not that big. Despite some early signs of the market not being the right fit, we just kept on going. We held onto this idea that we can make it work for a bit longer than we should have. Yes, it's always good to test out your hypotheses, to talk to people, to get feedback. But at some point, it's time to move on. And I think we went a little bit past that point. Eventually, after hearing interest from partners in the call center space, we pivoted. Almost immediately, got better leads, stronger feedback, and more pilots than we did in the months before. The product evolved very fast in the last couple of months, and it was exactly what the market needed. Letting go of the original idea unlocked much more growth, while our attachment actually slowed us down for months before. Another very famous example of this is Nokia. Remember how in early 2000s, every single person had that Nokia brick that will never get destroyed and would probably survive an apocalypse. Actually, in early 2000s, and particularly in 2008, Nokia's market share was almost 40%. Imagine, almost half of the entire market of cell phones belonged to one company. But then they clung to their legacy operating system and hardware-first mindset. And even after the first iPhone was released, Nokia delayed transitioning into that modern touchscreen and app type of phone. There are also some rumors that the hierarchy inside the company was quite strong and the leaders were very hard to persuade to innovate and get detached from their original ideas and what was working before and what they thought the market needed to actually see what the market wanted at the moment. By the time Nokia adopted Windows Phone, it was already too late. Android and iOS taken over. Yes, the company was successful. And yes, they created something that people needed. But also, they got so stuck in it, in their previous success, in the time, money, and resources they've invested in their product, that they're just unable to pivot when it really counted. How can we avoid being Nokia and spot that sunk cost fallacy in yourself? Number one, when in your head, you're justifying staying the course by how much you've already spent, not by what you'll gain going forward. Saying things like, we've already built it, might as well launch it. We've come too far to quit now. It would be a waste to change direction now. Another one is when you feel guilt, shame, or defensiveness when discussing a pivot or a shutdown. You ignore or downplay new evidence that suggests your idea isn't working. You also might feel uncomfortable discussing alternatives, even when teammates or users suggest them. You delay hard conversations about priorities or performance to avoid facing loss. That of procrastination, because you're pushing something uncomfortable. And finally, you've created complex rationalizations to defend a decision you're no longer excited about or that's no longer working for you. So, how can we minimize the sunk cost trap? Well, it's important to note that you can't fully eliminate it. Our brains are just wired to protect the investment. But you can reduce the impact with a couple strategies. Let's talk about them. First, you know it, reframe. Reframe your decisions about the future, not the past. Instead of saying, we've already put 3 months into it, ask yourself, what's the best move forward from here? Another good way to go about it is set kill criteria ahead of time. Define metrics or time limits before you start. For example, if this feature doesn't have 50 active users in 3 weeks, we'll reevaluate. Number 3, get an outside perspective. Just talk to people, your mentors, advisors, other startup founders, your parents, friends, most importantly, your users. Ask, should we keep on going with this? And why? Having that distance, getting the second opinion, can make it easier to spot emotional entanglement. And finally, normalize quitting. Sometimes it can be a form of progress. Remind yourself that letting go of what's not working gives you energy, time, and resources back to what might. And finally, reflect on pivots that worked in your company or others and celebrate them as wins. Just because you've poured time, money, or energy into something does not mean it deserves a future. I know it sounds harsh, but that's the reality of it. Founders often feel pressure to prove that past effort wasn't wasted, but progress isn't about pushing harder and constantly trying to fill that endless pit. It's about choosing better, making smarter decisions. Letting go is not always quitting. It's often what might actually work. And as usual, I'm leaving you with 2 reflection prompts. Number 1, if you had to start from scratch today, would you still choose to keep building this? And number 2, what would you do differently if you didn't feel the need to justify your past effort? Thank you for tuning in today. Like and subscribe, and I will see you again next week.